county of Norfolk of ours is often regarded as a peninsula with water virtually on three sides, and it was no more so than in medieval times when it was such an important part of the country from a maritime point of view. It's no wonder also that the sea plays such an important role in the county's history. Robert Malster's life's work has been researching the county's maritime history, which he has recently brought together in 2 volumes, the stories stretching from Wisbech and Lynn to Yarmouth and Galston. At the Nelson Museum in Great Yarmouth, he recalls some of the significant episodes from medieval and Tudor times that I've mentioned in the article.
In the days when Edward I was hammering the Scots, Yarmouth played quite a role in that, you know. There's a John Perebrine who was Admiral of the North Sea Fleet at the time, Yarmouth man. He lived somewhere up by the Conge, I think, somewhere up in the north of Yarmouth. And he was in charge of the King's Fleet in several periods during that century. And the Yarmouth people did put up such a good display up at Berwick that the King said they could have half the Royal Arms for the town. That's why you've got the herring tails on one side and the Royal Lions on the other. The fish were for Yarmouth, the lions were the King's. John Perebrine, I believe, was in command of the fleet at the Battle of Sluis, a battle when the English fleet absolutely massacred the French. Sluis is just off the mouth of the Scheldt, the Westerschelde, on the Belgian Netherlands coast. The historians of those days weren't very much worried about blood and thunder, but my goodness, they do remark that it was a most bloody battle. Lasted all day, I gather. Of course, in those days there were no cannons like this here. It was all bows and arrows. That was the only way you could slog at a distance. Not a very great distance at that. When they were fighting, the ships would lie alongside one another and they'd simply be hacking one another to pieces with swords and halberds and such like. Quite a nasty business by all accounts. Of course, in those days, for the most part, it was a matter of commandeering fishing boats and merchant ships for use in war. The fishing boats were generally considered too small. It was the merchant ships for the most part. When the King wanted to send a fleet against the French, he ordered all the merchant ships to gather in a certain place, at the port of Orwell perhaps, and they were all equipped with plenty of soldiers and sent off to fight the French. No warships in those days, except of course the galleys. The galleys were, yes, the first warships, and Yarmouth was among the places that was ordered to build a galley in, I think it was 1294. When the Armada was threatening in 1588, the Norfolk coast was considered to be particularly threatened. I don't know much about Yarmouth ships taking part in the fighting, but certainly there was a lot of defensive work going on, both at Yarmouth and all round the Norfolk coast. It was always considered that the really desperate place was Weyburn. What is it they say? If old England you would win, you must at Weyburn Hope begin. The reason being that there was deep water close inshore where ships could lie and unload people. By the time the Armada got to us in Norfolk, I think it had been pretty well battered already, and there wasn't very much need for Yarmouth ships to go out.